I know for those of you who have been very used to this program, I'm sure that you have been waiting for this particular episode. It's a nice warm afternoon in the city of Lagos. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this week's edition of Audio Police, the city of audio, where we talk about everything that has to do with audio, live sound, live gears, and some sort of music, and all. So if you're listening to me, or you peradventure are watching this live, or you're watching this video, I think you're in the right place. Something that we're going to discuss today will be very, very beneficial to you, I guarantee you. So welcome every one of you who are listening to me and those who are seeing us. Welcome to Audio Police. This is your refreshing radio, digits 1024. Of course, you can be part of this show by just going to your browser and just type www.digits1024radio.com www.digits1024radio.com. You'll be hearing us live. You could be part of this show by also calling the number 0809 888 If you're outside the country, let's add the code +234 809 888 Because if you have an Android phone, straight from your Google app, you could just download our app, Digits 1024. Just search for the app. You will be listening to us, not just this show. It is refreshing content 247. So it will do you good to just download that app and you'll be right here with us. We would love to hear comments, views, and your own opinion about everything that is on this show. It will be a very good thing to hear from everyone listening to us, or you are even watching us right now. You could be on Facebook. Go straight to your Facebook page, our Facebook page, Digits Sound Solutions. Just go in there. You will be watching us live, and you could comment. I will see your comment, and I will read it. You will be part of the show. So you have very robust channels to listen to us today. Whether you want to hear us or see us, there are very robust channels for you to follow us today. So my pleasure again to welcome you to this week's episode of Audio Police. I have a very important, like I always promised you, that I will be bringing guests on this show that will add value and talk about the topics that we have. Don't forget, we are here to educate you. No matter how the few moments we are going to spend here together, it's just to be able to speak about certain things that relate to audio, whether live sound or studio sound, wherever it is. You're a preacher, you're a musician, you're a sound engineer, audio producer, music producer, whatever you're doing that has to do with audio, I think this is the city you should belong. Audio Police. My guest this afternoon, it's a robust guest, just like the last one. Robust guest. For those who can hear me, you probably will not be able to, but if you can see me, of course, you already know who is here with me. Someone that I have watched as he grew in this audio industry. He's a proud owner of his own studios. Wonderful for some of us who have been very accustomed to his content on his page and on YouTube at Akurios. Straightforward to the point, we're going to be considering loudness control tips. What did I say? Loudness control tips. Those are that's the topic we're going to be considering today, are loudness control tips. Of course, if you're in the world of audio, there's no way you won't have heard the word loudness or amplification. Amplify it. You have heard a lot of people, especially my brothers who play different music musicians out there. Loud it. This music in this part of the world, in Africa, we really like loud music.
Yep.
Really like to see and make it, until it's loud, it's not music. But probably today's episode we'll try and pull a few things to correct in place of getting to achieve the loudness that you think it should be in the world of audio. So on the studio part, I will be talking about Akurios, exactly. Akurios would be talking about the tips from studio end, and I will be talking the tips from the live sound end. Yeah, so that's what we're going to be dealing with today, and I hope that we'll be able to give you some tips that will help some of us here going forward in our audio career, whichever part you are in. So Aku,
yes, sir.
Because that's how I know you.
Yeah, that's fine. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah. So tell us, in your journey and experience, what would you consider loud? What experience have you had in terms of this loudness, this thing called loudness? What can you just give us a little bit what loudness means to you, and what loudness mean to other people out there?
Yes, sir. Okay. It's like this. When we talk about loudness, there are two questions that should come to mind. Number one, is it loud enough? And number two, is it too loud?
Is it loud enough?
Is it loud enough?
Or is it too loud?
Those are two things you should consider, because
must it be loud?
For instance, in music now, we'll say there's loud and there's soft.
Right.
Say play loud, that's forte. Play soft, pianissimo or piano. So you're soft and you're loud. But in audio, it's just loudness.
It's loudness.
So it's now if whether you're loud enough or you're too loud. So but because you have to be loud enough. I'll give you an example. When I got into audio, when I got into music production,
right,
we have this you have to compete with commercially available music to make sure that your music is loud enough so that when it is playing with other songs on the radio, like on digits now, your music can compete with other music or other songs that are playing after it and before it.
Right.
So that's where the question of loud enough comes in. But if you're not careful, you can overdo it and become too loud. And that's where we have a problem. And then when you come to the performing aspect of things now,
right,
you have musicians in the studio who are recording and everybody wants to hear himself louder than everybody else.
Yeah.
And that's one of the problems that we have as audio engineers everywhere, both live and in the studio, because the guitarist believes that he's playing the most important role in this music.
Exactly.
The pianist believes exactly the same thing, that he's playing the most important role, and to him, he's the one that should be loudest. Then the vocalist thinks the same thing. So, and there's now a problem.
Yes, exactly. The instruments are overshadowing me.
Exactly.
You heard that a lot of times.
Exactly. It's too loud. My voice is quiet. Why is my voice quiet? And the bass player is there. He wants the bass to be cranked all the way, and he wants to be the loudest bass and the loudest sound in the room.
Right.
So those are some of the issues that we have. So there has to be that balance between loud enough and loud, almost just loud enough to be heard, and then to compete with others so that you are heard in the mix, in the general mix, and you are perceived as a player in that particular piece of music.
Exactly. Absolutely. Akurios have used a particular word of our objective, the topic objective today, That word is balance. And the tips we want to give is the few things that we can begin to do in order to maintain balance in terms of loudness, both in the music produced in a controlled atmosphere like this in the studio, and music sound produced in live sound produced in a very large in a very large live environment. Now these are the things about loudness. Loudness in itself is can be debated. For many years, it's so relative to who is hearing it, who is listening to it. What is loud in your ears may not be the same thing in my own ears. And in some episodes before, we have talked about the effect of audio in your ears and the red zone, the clipping point, the red zone, and you cannot dissociate loudness from all these things. But today, we will try our best possible to just introduce to you a few tips. Some you may already know, but it would be good to re-emphasize how to maintain balance in this loudness thing. Because let me let you know, if you don't know how to maintain balance in terms of how loud your music is or how loud your music is perceived, it will go a long way in affecting you, both in the commercial way and even health-wise. You must understand what is even allowed. Do you know that in the laws of the land, there is a particular dB, SPL that you must generate even in church, even in outside environment. But once a particular event or a concert is already generating some over 130 or 140 dB, that's very injurious. You're already going through the borderline. You're going to spoil people in case you don't know. So we need to understand this part of loudness, and I do hope that my fellow sound engineers, live sound engineers, and those who operate and produce music in the studio will be able to follow a few of the tips that we're about to share with you. Very soon we'll be going on a short break, but I just want you to know that after this short break, we will be dealing with these tips one after the other. Don't go anywhere. You need to hear these tips. It's still your favorite refreshing radio, Digits 1024. We'll be right back on Audio Police.
Would you like your event to sound like this? Or like... Then you're just one call away. Hook up with Digit Sound Solutions for your indoor and outdoor events. With professional sound engineers, the best of equipment, your dream event is sure to come alive. For more inquiries, call 0809-573-3330. Digits, live sound at its best.
We are right back here on your refreshing radio, Digit 1024, and this is Audio Police, the city of audio. And I have with me my special guest, my friend, my brother, Akurios. Of course, a highly rated music producer. This guy is, not just talented in terms of producing audio, he's also very talented in playing. How many instruments do you play, Akurios?
Well, I'll say three. Just piano, guitar, and bass guitar.
Whoa, wow.
A little of horns here and there, but just...
I'm still a learner. I played the mixer. Right, so the topic today, loudness control tips. So I'm going to be giving, we are going to be giving some tips in in you dealing with loudness. We know that this loudness topic, I know that it's a big thing. Many of you will not agree with some of the things that we're saying, but I can assure you that with the vast experience that some of us have had in the audio world, some of these tips are going to really, really help you. Whatever you are doing in the world of audio, whether you're playing the instrument, a musician, a sound engineer, you are a music producer, you may even be a pastor, a preacher, or a singer, I think you need to understand the place of loudness in whatever you need to do. So, coming from me, from this other side of live sound, one tip I would like to share with you in maintaining loudness is that in live sound, one of the things I think you should do to control loudness is to increase your mix. Have more mix. You know, this is what I mean by having more mix. Use your mix buses. The more mix buses you have, the more it may be a little bit cumbersome for some people, but if you know your heart, you want to ensure that, okay, it's not the same speaker that is feeding both the keyboardists, both the guitar, both the and the singer at the same time. You find out that some people are there and some people have just one speaker that is given to the whole band. One mix is given to the whole band. The same speaker is feeding the keyboardist, is feeding the guitarist, and all that. Once you do that, you definitely are going to be having loudness issues because everyone is going to be fighting. When you have different people playing in a band, especially in a live sound situation, it is important to put them in a mix. When you have two keyboards, give them two different mix. You have a bass guitar, give him another mix. So when he is crying, when he is saying, I cannot hear myself, push it up. Don't say because of one man you crank the whole system up and then destroy other people. Just push it. Give me volume. Just go to his mix and turn it up. In fact, nowadays in the world of audio, some people, we are now even giving people their own personal monitoring system. Exactly. Where if you want to kill yourself in your ears, by all means raise it for your own ears alone. Okay, so once you have more mix, it's a good way to control loudness. Just give everyone the respective outputs they need to have, and you'll be able to control the whole mix. That's tip number 1. Akurios, let's go to your own tip.
Okay, so actually, let me just say a very, very short addition to what Mr. Gboyega has said about monitor mixes. Now, in the studio, it also applies. If you have a a cheap audio interface like the Focusrite 8920 or 898 can give you the Focusrite software that you can use to create monitor mixes for the band members. So all you need to do is just turn up the volume of that particular musician in the monitor mix. Right. You don't have to tamper with the general mix. Okay, so the first tip I'm going to drop here has to do with recording, the recording phase of music production.
Right.
Now, when we record, the first thing you should know is that digital loudness is not the same as analog loudness. So if you want to be as loud as possible in digital, you may end up clipping and you may end up producing distortion that is not pleasant. It's not harmonic distortion. It's not sweet to the ears. It's clipping. It's distortion that
red zone. You remember?
It's going to mess up the entire recording, and you're going to have to call back the band again to have another recording. So that's one. So I like to be between 50% and 75% on my meter.
Right.
And that's going to take me to, that's my second tip actually, on meters.
Just go ahead. Just do your tips.
Okay, I'll just run them down. So 50 to 75% on your meter. It doesn't matter what digital audio workstation you use. You can just make sure that you're not anywhere near the red zone. You're not anywhere near the above 75%
Yeah, exactly. Once
in
your
terms
meter,
of peaking.
Once your meter is going, from the green to amber.
Yes.
I mean, just a little into that amber, I think you're safe.
In fact, it should peak at amber. It should
peak.
That
exactly.
means the loudest sound when, for instance, an acoustic guitar striking the pick on the string, that loudest peak should not go beyond the amber. It shouldn't go beyond the amber. What you should be seeing more of is green. So, and the next tip I'm going to give you is use your meters. Use your meters. There are different types of meters in recording. For instance, analog recording, you may see a VU meter on your mixer or your preamp. A VU meter that will display the amount of power that is going in, electrical energy that is going into the system, the recording system, from the guitar or from the bass guitar or from the keyboards and all that. So you're seeing the meter, you're seeing it move, you're seeing the needle move, and you can tell how much signal is going in. If it's an output meter, then you can also tell how much signal is going out of your system into your DAW or whatever recording system you're using.
Absolutely.
So use your meters.
Yeah. So that's great. Second tip for me is that one of the things that I can see Dominic asking that what is Focusrite software. I think that's a question but I will come to that when you're dealing with your tip. Giving your other tips. Another tip from live sound perspective is that, and I'm sure it may also apply to audio, is that use your EQs. Now, use your equalizers. That's what I mean. Whether graphic or parametric, whatever it is, use your EQs. A lot of times, live sound engineers deploy EQs to boost rather than to cut. But understand this. Yes, the EQ is there in order to be able to boost some things. But you recognize that on your EQ stuff, you have some kind of flat. There's a flat EQing. If you put all this into on the middle, if you put all this in the middle, you have like a unity gain, like flat EQing. Now your EQ should rather be used to cut. Use your EQs to cut rather than to boost. If you must boost, it must be under very extreme. You don't have any other choice, to do that. That's why you're boosting. In live sound, for you to control loudness, ensure that your equalization, you are given. Let me make this as simple as possible. You are engaging what we filter. You don't want too many frequencies filtering into coming out of your system at the same time. Everybody do not sound the same. So if you're mixing your guitars, for example, or you're mixing your kick drum, for example, there's some frequencies you do not need. You need to be able to recognize such frequencies and cut them off. Boost those one or two frequencies in the mix that will be able to give. When all your frequencies are boosted, it's going to be giving you issues to be able to control loudness, because what is causing feedback and causing so much noise in us is an interplay of frequencies. They are just jamming themselves, and these frequencies, they have a culture of their own depending on the environment. If you are in a reflective environment, or you are in a sunny environment, whatever environment, these frequencies, they have different culture of their own depending on the environment they are. You will need to locate such frequencies and deal with it. That way, you will be able to control a lot of loudness, that is perceived when you are doing live sound.
All right. So, first of all, I'm going to answer the question.
Yes.
that someone asked about. Actually, I'm not a Focusrite ambassador. I wish they would endorse me someday, but I think I shouldn't have mentioned their name. Actually, I forgot we were live. So, but I was referring to Focusrite Scarlett 898, which happens to be an audio interface for music producers or recording engineers.
Yes, it's just another door.
It's just another audio interface you can use to record in your studio. So they come with software inbuilt in them that you can download from their site, which you can use to create monitor mixes for your live recordings. Right. So when you're doing your live, that's why I mentioned Focusrite. So Focusrite, if you're watching, endorse me. That's a shout out to you. Endorse me now. All right. So my second tip, or my third tip actually, is while mixing, when you have a mix before you, you've recorded all your instruments and everything is down, but you're having trouble listening or hearing a particular part of or a particular element of the mix. Right. Instead of boosting the volume of that particular element, just turn up your volume on your audio interface. Now, it's a very simple tip. It's a no-brainer, but many of us forget this, and I'm a victim of this. Actually, I'm guilty of this also, where I would want to hear a particular element I'm working on, and instead of me to just say, where's the volume on this audio interface,
right,
just to turn it up so I can hear everything better, I would now turn up that particular guitar or that particular bass or the snare drum, and then I've disturbed the entire mix, the loudness of the entire mix, because what I'm going to do next is the frequency content of that element is now going to be overshadowing another element in the mix.
Yes,
so I'll go back to that one, turn it up, go back to this one, turn it up, and I've scattered my mix.
Right.
And after that, the mix is now much louder than it was before. There was no need for that. That's a tip that we need to pay attention to. Just turn up your listening volume. And talking about your listening volume, to save your ears from any kind of future trouble. Naturally, our ears the human body generally tends to get worse as we grow older, except by some supernatural intervention. So your ears grow duller. And you can actually speed up the process of this deterioration by listening too loud to your music, especially in the studio. So it's safe to be around 85 dBs.
Yeah, right.
Around between 80 and 85 dBs. That's the safe listening volume or loudness level. And you can have an SPL, app on your phone. You can use to set that with your speaker, so
exactly,
you can just permanently set it with an app on your phone, an SPL app on your phone, and then you're good to go.
Thank you very much.
Safe.
Thank you very much, Akro. Of course, time is not always our side in this very busy city of audio. So many things to deal with. I'm going to leave you with maybe some 2 tips before Akro gives maybe rounds up on other tips. I do hope that these tips are helping you. You are still free to give us a call 0809 888 1024. Just hashtag or just send your comments on the video that you're watching. It will be our pleasure to answer any queries that you have. Of course, you also, because I know I have very senior consultants out there, so I mean, you are very free to be able to give your own ideas on loudness tip. In live sound, I want to give 2 tips. One is that for you to control loudness, ensure that deploy, depending on your environment and the number of people the strength of the people, the audience who is listening, who are listening to that live sound, it will be important for you to deploy things like apart from your FOH location. The FOH means front of house. The speakers that are right in front of the stage that are feeding the people. Apart from that, you should learn how to deploy also speakers that are for center fields, speakers that are for delays. Some people even refer them as bleachers. Don't always, and don't always pull all your output, your speakers, everything just coming from the front, especially when you have a large number of people. You want to be able to deploy other speakers so that you are not overdriving the main speakers that is feeding the people. You are not overdriving. And try to deploy speakers for delay. And when you set your delay right, you will not have to be overdriving speakers that is feeding the people. You have people who deploy things like side fields, even on stage. The idea is to, like I said before, having more mix is to just ensure that you are not pushing too much of signal in through a particular. Is everybody is hearing through a particular spot? It's a no. So just like as you deal with stage mix, so also you deal with the FOH. Ensure that you rightly position speakers. That's another thing, another tip. If you wrongly position your speakers, I find that in some churches and in some environment, you will see that speakers are placed right behind someone. You just put it, those 4-angle, just set and put speakers 4-angle. I don't think that's a speaker position is so. Maybe we are going to treat that topic sometime on the. But it's a very key thing. If you must also know how to control loudness in the place of audio. My last tip, which we have to be very careful about, and I'm sure that Aku is going to bounce off on it. My last tip is the use of limiters and compressors. Limiters and compressors, or gates and all that are some sort of processing that we also apply, and I know they also applied in the studio. And it's particularly, I'm going to mention limiter and compressors. As much as these things are good to control loudness, I must put a caution to this, that if you don't know how to use these limiters and set them correctly in terms of the ratio and the threshold and all that, it may just, like Ako was saying, is it loud enough? That loud enough, you will just kill it. It will kill it. You will need to you need to know how to use your limiters. Limiters are actually designed for us not to take our signal above certain threshold, certain dBs. So when you set them correctly, instead of dulling your system, it gets, it's like your sound getting to the red level, and the limiter is saying, no, you cannot go beyond this. No, you cannot go beyond this. Or you apply compressors in some areas in order to be able to deal with it. So the use of limiters and compressors are also coming handy in trying to deal with loudness in live audio, but they must be used sparingly. You must know what you're doing in order to control the loudness in the mix. If not, you may even just destroy the mix if you don't know how to
the final loudness level of the songs that you produce in your studio.
Right. Some like mixing and mastering.
Yeah, mastering at the mastering level. Right. So at the mastering stage. So what you need to realize is that the streaming platforms like Spotify, iTunes, Deezer, and all that, they are going to set a different loudness level for you on their platforms.
Wow.
And that is minus 14 LUFS, loudness unit full scale. So take note of that as you try to be as loud as possible. Take note of the fact that they will still bring it down for you, so that their listeners can have a sane environment to listen. So that's very important. And then I'll also I wanted to talk about limiting, but maybe there's no time for me to go into that now. But just know that you're setting the peak level. This signal must not go beyond this point, and then you're bringing up the general level of of the sound. So it takes us back to using your meters. Use your meters, the RMS meter, the K14 meter, K20 meter. Play with all of them and experiment. Be safe.
Thank you very much. Wow. Like I said, it's not always time. Time is always issue here on Audio Police, a city that, when audio is always sounding in the city, I'm sure the city never sleeps. Just like as I know that Aku is returning to the studio now to go and deal with some loudness issues. It's our ethic, as sound engineers, we always want to just deal with loudness. We also want to protect our system. Now, how can you bring a million naira system and then because of loudness you fire and fry my system? We go no. You try, you try for us. All right, it's been wonderful dealing with these topics today. I hope that the various tips that we have shared have been beneficial to those of you who have heard us and those who are watching us right now. We would love to have your comments, your questions, your observations. Just your own contribution. Put it on these tips. The best that we can do in this city of audio is to also give our quota. If you think you have other ideas in helping us control loudness in our mix, in all this, by all means, please share, comment here as much as possible. It will do good. It will do everyone who is listening to us a huge benefit. It's been nice speaking with you, Aku. Thank you so much for all these necessary tips that you have shared with us. Before we go away, please don't forget that a positive mindset is all that we need for a better society, and that's why we say this together. Aku, think positive, speak positive, and remain optimistic to refresh Nigeria. Please follow us on all our social media platforms at digits1024 or at digits sound. Like I told you, for you to stay glued to refreshing content, you could download our app from Google Play Store at digits1024. You'll be listening to fantastic content. This program is brought to you courtesy Digit Sound, live sound at its best. It's our way of giving back to you to educate you on matters that has to do with audio. From me and my special guest today, and from every one of us in the studio, we'd like to say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you
next time.
Next time.